What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
You have no taste, a lousy sense of humor, and you smell. You're not even interesting enough to make me sick.
Fine, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Oh, the humanity.
And may God have mercy on your soul.
Sundays from 1 to 3 right here on WCGO, 1590 AM and 95.9 FM.
Hello, this is Mike Curry from Montelli Nursery, and I was working on green roofs before anyone knew what a green roof was. You're listening to Smart Talk. The Mike Nowak Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
You know, if you've got a green thumb, and by the way, if you do, I know a specialist, you'll really marvel at how simple a tool this is, and it can really save you hours of back-breaking work. Let's see, I'm about 100 yards off the green here. I'll try a 5 weasel. No more weeding on your hands and knees. You just gently glide your weasel. And by the way, it's been years since I've said that. You just glide the weasel in between your, let's say, plants. Look, Ma, I'm making valuable mulch. Hello, Mr. Hoffa. I
get Jimmy Hoffa. It's the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. Green, gardening, and environment radio. Flavored with a dash of humor. Welcome to intelligent, irreverent talk about plants and the planet they grow on. Your questions, comments, and participation are always welcome at 877-711-5611.
Good planets are hard to find. Temperate zones and tropic climes. And true currents and thriving seas. Wind blowing through breathing trees. Strong ozone and safe sunshine. Well, good planets are hard to find. Good planets are in demand.
This hour is brought to you by Bartlett Tree Experts. Every tree needs a champion. Go to bartlett.com.
Jet streams, perfect air.
And here they are, Peggy Malecki and Mike Nowak.
Well, good planets are in demand. Right.
What a jerk.
Who? What? He got it there. Oh, we love you, Andrew. You're the best. You got it. This week, he was there with the prod cop. Give him a ding. And what's amazing about Andrew,
there's a lot of things amazing.
Our engineer. And on other shows, he's a producer, but we have a producer. We got Ellie here in the control room. We'll give her a ding. But Andrew is the engineer, and I was talking to him today and asking him about his capabilities. Here's what he told me.
I have an ultimate storage capacity of 800 quadrillion bits. My total linear computational speed has been rated at 60 trillion operations per second.
That's awesome.
I didn't know you were that good. You really are.
Try my best.
I know you do. Let's give a shout out to Andrew Merschel, our engineer here, and to Ellie, because this doesn't happen without them behind the scenes. And even when things get crazy, and he's waving 2 minutes at me right now. See, and that's what he does. And he's wearing. Are you wearing a tie there? No. Yes.
I'm not wearing a tie.
You're not wearing a tie.
This is this lanyard with my keys.
That's
on
his
it.
key.
Oh, that's his lanyard. Yeah, that works too.
If I don't have it.
You could just button the collar. That works as a tie.
Put it underneath. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good tip.
There
you go.
I've been known to do that. And sometimes you want to be really cool. You tie your tie and you pull it up tight and then tuck it into your first button of your shirt so it's just peeking out there.
So it doesn't go in the soup.
Exactly. Well, my face goes in the soup at certain times of the day. Just down into the soup. Hey, welcome to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. Oh, my goodness, we're going all over the country today. We start in North Carolina with Pat Stone from Greenprints Man, you're going to like that. It's a publication that is about the heart and soul of gardening. Pat hasn't been on the show in forever, so it's time to
2011.
You would do the research, wouldn't you? You just go back. You just don't let me miss a trick here, do you? 2011? I was 12 years old in 2011. I'll have you know. So we'll talk about, and you know, at this time of year, you might want to order some Greenprints because the holidays are coming up and all that. After that, Dr. Robert Coulson from Texas A&M about a fascinating study about monarch butterflies in Texas and hotspots along the highways where monarchs get wiped out during their migration. And we're going to talk about how they can mitigate that. Really cool stuff. Stick around. It's the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki.
That's not just a tree in your yard, it's an investment. It's a windbreak. It's a natural work of art. It's part of the family, which is why you want Bartlett tree experts to care for your trees. Now is a great time to go to bartlett.com and see what they can do for you. Did you know that winter's a prime time to have your trees pruned? One of the reasons is that without leaves, the structure of the tree is easier to evaluate. Also, it's a great time to inspect your trees for any visibly hazardous conditions or structural issues. It's also easier now to work around a garden when the ground is frozen. Even during the growing season, Bartlett utilizes the most effective and environmentally sensitive methods to control tree pests, such as beneficial insects to manage the bad insects. And did we mention that Bartlett is the industry leader in safety? Whether it's a small residential project or a major commercial renovation, contact an arborist representative at Bartlett and get a free estimate, because every tree needs a champion. Go to bartlett.com.
Well, look who's home. How was your day, hon?
You know, stressful, exhausting.
Lay down on me and we'll talk about it.
Oh, Purple Mattress, you know how to support me.
Hey, I'm just a mattress doing my job.
You're more than that. You're a Purple Mattress. Who cares about a bed with numbers when I have your Purple Grid to comfort my body's pressure points? And forget memory foam. Your non-toxic, hyper-elastic polymer minimizes heat, keeping me cool and comfortable the whole night through.
If you're happy, I'm happy. But you do have up to 100 days to return me for a full refund.
And give up the best night's sleep I've had since I learned to walk? No way. You're the only one I want to come home to. Purple Mattress.
You too can come home to a Purple Mattress by texting RELAX to 84888. And now for a limited time, receive a free Purple product with your order when you text RELAX to 84888. That's keyword RELIX to 84888.
Message and data rates may apply. Please do not text and drive. See purple.com for terms and conditions.
City Grange, Chicago's newest and most unique garden center, wants to remove all barriers to your gardening success. How? By providing organic heirloom plants for your kitchen garden, pollinator-friendly natives and annuals, container planting to go. They deliver the plants, you put them in. Who does that? Classes for adults and kids, special events, and more. They even have complimentary valet parking on weekends. 5500 Northwestern Avenue at Catalpa. CityGrange.com. Learn, shop, blossom.
DNR Services Unlimited has been serving the north and northwest suburbs since 1992. They can take care of those little problems that never get done. They perform complete bathroom, basement, and kitchen remodels, and if you're looking for a complete home makeover, they can handle that too. Visit their website at restorethenorthshore.com or give them a call at 847-998-1687. That's restorethenorthshore.com or give them a call at 847-998-1687. It'll be easy to find someone cheaper, but a lot harder to find someone better.
And now for something completely different for the season, the Frozen Robins.
Oh, holy night, late December back in 1 BC, 'twas the night of the nativity. What a baby, what a night.
Talented, funny, unique, the Frozen Robins are Chicago's #1 caroling group. Exquisite harmonies, madcap improvisation, holiday sketches and characters, even a 10-minute version of It's a Wonderful Life. They are definitely not your mother's carolers. Go to frozenrobins.com or contact me, Mike, at MikeNovak.net, because I'm not just a fan of the Frozen Robins, I are one.
Yeah! I'm Kevin.
Oh, I'm a lonely little petunia in an onion patch. An onion patch, an onion patch. I'm a lonely little petunia in an onion patch. And all I do is cry all day.
See, I've got my 78 player out here. You know, back when I worked at Gargantua Radio down the dial, back in the day, we still had 78s that we played. It was nuts. And this is done in honor of our guest, Pat Stone, and I hope you can hear. Can you hear this, Pat? Did you hear that?
I'm still laughing to know that you're honoring an onion for me. I'm very grateful.
How are you? How are you? How are you? You know, the people.
I'm doing good.
Good. And folks who don't know, that was Arthur Godfrey singing the Petunia song, Lonely Little Petunia in an Onion Patch. And that's kind of you. Isn't that sort of your theme song, Pat Stone?
Yeah, sure. No. I'm kind of an oddball in the gardening world. I will definitely admit that. But I'm pretty just the same, okay? Like a chive, nice blossom, a pungent blossom, okay? Beautiful purple pungent blossom.
Oh, yes, you are. You got to be wary of those purple blossoms because they can sometimes hit you in the nose. Folks, this is Pat Stone, and I don't know if you heard the earlier part. Peggy was busting me because the last time you were on the show was in 2011. Wow, that's a long time ago. We're not going to let that happen again, okay? I promise you right now.
Good.
We will not let that happen again. And Pat is the editor, publisher, creator of a publication called Greenprints, The Weeder's Digest. You get a little ding for that. Give him a beer ding as well for that. There we go. Now,
I'm an onion. I'm getting dings. This is a good morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Just even getting beer dings.
And when you're done with the conversation, if you want, go back to bed. I don't care. However, you're an hour later than we are here, so you're in North Carolina. And I don't know if you realize this, but in Chicago, we are bracing for a storm that's going to knock the temperatures down, I think, to 12 degrees on Tuesday morning. And I don't know.
Yeah, I heard you got an Arctic blast coming.
Oh, yeah. And maybe a little bit of snow, maybe a couple.
Good for you. Good for you.
No, I'm not ready for this.
You may even get some out by you, Pat.
You're
Not as much, but...
You're going to call me an onion, I can give you Arctic blast, all right?
Okay.
All righty.
And Peggy was out yesterday trying to get ready to accept this, and then so am I, because when I get home today, I'm going to be out in the neighbor's parkway raking leaves and putting them into my garden. It's like I'm stealing their leaves, and we're going to be talking about that later, about leaving the leaves, and how good it is for your garden. But I'm going to steal the leaves, and in fact, that's my motto: steal your neighbor's leaves.
Oh yeah, when they're sitting all out at the curb, bags of them, it's like bring them to my yard.
Take them in. But that's why Peggy's out there and I'm out there, because we're just bracing ourselves, because it seems like the end is nigh. However, if you go to MikeNovak.net, the blog post, and scroll down to the gentle wisdom of Greenprints, you will see, and I hope you don't mind, I put the winter cover that you so graciously sent me. It's so nice. That's just that's one of the best covers ever I think you've done for Greenprints, Pat. You must like it.
I like all the covers. I'm so blessed with the artists I have. I use 14 different illustrators from all over the country and Canada, and it's like opening a present to see the art arrive for each issue.
And who did this one?
But these people probably don't know what the heck Greenprints is.
Yeah, I was going to say, for those who don't know what Greenprints is.
Sure they are. Sure they do. Well, no, maybe they don't.
I'd like to swap insults with you for 20 minutes.
So go ahead.
So what have you been doing since 1990?
Since 1990. 30 years I've been making this magazine, my wife and I and our kids. It's a Weeder's Digest. It's the only magazine that shares the personal side of gardening, the personal stories, the ways it touches us inside. It has humor, it is heart, it is inspiration, it is big mistakes, it is generational stories of gardening with pets. It's just the real heart of why we garden. We garden for our fruits, we garden for our flowers, but we also garden for the inner satisfaction, rewards, and solace, and encouragement, and connection that gardening gives us. And that's what this magazine shares. It's the only one in the world that shares it.
Well, I say also that it's about how we live, love, and survive gardening despite our best efforts to kill our beloved plants. And there's a lot.
Yeah, we're all expert planticiders, and that's good.
Well, and that's part of it too. It's the real life stories. If folks get a subscription to Greenprints, and they should also consider getting a subscription for their friends for the holidays. And that information, I've got the link at my website, MikeNovak.net. But you can also go to greenprints.com and find all of that information. And if you search the site, you don't put the articles online because that would defeat the purpose of having a print magazine. But you have a few up there, and I put a few.
Right there.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, no, I put a few stories from every issue up there, and you can see the covers. You get a feel for the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally different than everything else. But it's helpful to look at it, see how beautiful it is, how wonderful, how tactile it is, how sensuous. And gardeners love it. I have people that tell me I kiss each issue every time it arrives.
I hope they wipe it off then.
I had one woman write me, if I had to eat nothing but rice for 3 months, I would not go without my green prints.
Wow.
That's pretty tender.
That really is. So your fans are very supportive and very loyal.
Well, and I'm grateful for them. It fills a niche for them. It helps unite that community of gardeners that we all are. Greenprints is a balm to my soul. I carry it with me everywhere.
And he said balm. He said
people that.
I was just going to say, you said balm with a B-A-L-M, not B-O-M-B.
No.
Right. Not a balm for
soothing.
you. Yes, I know. A balm for his soul.
And that sort of connects. Go ahead, Peggy.
I was going to say, because it is print, and with gardening, and it's something you can just curl up with the cup of tea, the cup of coffee, whatever, and just sit there and read and not have your screen in front of you.
Right. And the stories are short. They don't take long to read. And, when you said balm, not bomb, it reminded me that so much of our media today is so negative and so angrifying or whatever. And here's something positive and warm and tender, that values the important things in life and shares them, which gardening does. Gardening does for all of us. So that's what this magazine shares. It's encouraging, it's loving, it's caring, and it's funny.
Yes, it is. And again, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. The stories are real stories from people who are not always the best gardeners, but they're the most earnest gardeners in the world. And like columns I used to write for Chicagoland Gardening Magazine, and we'll get into that in just a second. You're going to learn something from reading these columns, even though it's not a how-to kind of piece that you're reading, but you always learn something from people's mistakes, don't you, Pat?
You do, and that's the most important thing. The most important tool a gardener should have is a sense of humor, because you never know when you're going to need it. If you'd like, if you have a couple of minutes, I'll share a short story.
Sure, please do.
Okay, I'll give you a choice. You can have a funny one or a tender one. Which do you want?
I always opt for the funny one.
All right. This one I had the privilege of telling last night because it was the 20th anniversary of our local library, and the library was built on what was a cornfield. This is a story called Picking Corn by Harvey Silverman. One of the things I miss most about my dad is his quirky sense of humor. I often think of my dad when I ate sweet corn. You see, Dad enjoyed sweet corn, but he insisted it be fresh. I trust you remember, Mike, back when the only corn you could buy, sweet corn, started turning to starch as soon as you harvested it. The kernels would start changing from sugar to starch. Now they do better than that. And so you had to eat it fresh. Sooner the better. My dad was very adamant about that. When I was a boy, we had a small vegetable garden in the backyard. We grew all the usual things: cucumbers, tomatoes, green beans, and sweet corn. We normally picked our vegetables and let Mom prepare the dinner with them, but not with sweet corn. When it was time to get that, my dad would wait till just before dinner, place a large pot of water on the stove, and heat it to boiling. Then he and I would rush out to the garden, pick and shuck the corn, head straight back to the kitchen and throw it in the water. Oh, that was good. After I grew up, my folks moved to a new home where they didn't have a garden. My dad still loved sweet corn, so he bought it at a local farm stand, never in the grocery store. One afternoon on the way home from work, he stopped at the farm stand and asked if they had any fresh sweet corn. I have some right here, said the farmer. It was just picked this morning. This morning, Dad said. Have anything fresher? Well, I have some here I haven't put out yet. You can have some of that. It was just picked an hour ago. An hour ago? Don't you have anything fresher? By then, the farmer was becoming just a bit annoyed with my father. He took him out into the field just behind his farm stand, picked some corn on the spot, handed it to Dad, and said, "There, is that fresh enough for you?" My dad looked at him and said, "I don't know. You're picking kind of slow."
Oh,
Love that story. That's classic Shaggy Dog corn story.
There aren't a whole lot of Shaggy Dog corn stories out there, but that's a good one. I put some others.
I get to share that.
Yeah. The one with the frog on the bench, that was a great story.
I love that, and I put that.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's such a sweet story.
It is, and it's on my website. If you go scroll down, you'll find 3 stories that I chose from some of the ones you have on your website. My dinosaur bromeliad, which is from the most recent edition issue, and you'll wonder what a dinosaur bromeliad is. It's actually a very funny story. My botanical breakdown, and I have those on a regular basis, by the way, Pat. And it has to do with deer, by the way, the botanical breakdown. So anybody's,
or you could substitute chipmunks.
you could say, if you're in Peggy, you could, because that's Peggy's trauma. And then Pondering with Walden is the story about the frog, and it's really a delight if you get a chance to read that. So those are 3 that I put up there.
I am flattered you put those on your site, Mike. I'm really flattered. That nothing means more to me than people enjoying the stories and sharing them. So that's the best endorsement I could ever get. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. All right, a little serious business for just a minute or two here, and you have survived for 30 years now, and as you probably know, State by State Gardening went out of business this year, which had 21 magazines across the country. There was one in North Carolina. I know there was one in North Carolina that went belly up, right?
Yeah, no, I'm so sorry about that.
And a lot of
It's
people.
a tough time for media.
Yeah, it is. But, and again, my question is, Pat, gardening is supposed to be the #1 hobby in America. What's happening here? Is it just the rise of of internet media versus print media, or is something else going on here? Because now there are probably, I said millions before, it's probably more like hundreds of thousands of people who suddenly lost their favorite gardening publication in 21 states. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I have to say I'm sad. It's really sad. I think that's basically just the whole world going out of print. Magazines, newspapers, all these things are struggling. They're having trouble just because so much advertising moved from those things to online. So that's where the media goes. So now you read everything online, which is fine. But the experience of holding a newspaper in your hands or a magazine is warm and friendly as Greenprints. That can't be duplicated. I do sell digital subscriptions. People can subscribe and get the magazine digitally. I have over 10,000 print subscribers and 25 digital subscribers.
Wow.
People like to hold this magazine.
Yeah.
I have a niche.
And
you have the right niche to survive.
Yeah, and niche publications are what are surviving the most.
Well, if folks want to get a subscription, and I advise them to do that if they like to hold it in their hands and read, and as Peggy said, have a cup of tea or even a libation, you can go to greenprints.com. You can also go to my website, MikeNovak.net. You get one for a friend. You're not going to regret it, and they're going to love you for it. Pat Stone, thank you so much for being on the show today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike and Peggy. Have a warm week. I hope you enjoy it.
No chance of that. The Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. We'll be right back.
You wouldn't use an 18-wheeler to teach your son how to drive. It's too big. And
Pat, still there? Pat, you still there?
in his toy car. It's too
Yes, sir.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much. And I promise you, it won't take so long for us to hook up again.
Oh, I'm very grateful, Mike. Fun to be with you guys. Good sense of humor.
And I was grateful to be with I'm grateful to Randy Schultz. So you should pat him on the back and say he's doing his job, because he mentioned your name. I went, holy smoke, we need to do that. So Randy's a good guy.
Oh, he is a good guy. Very grateful that he's working with me this winter. I thought the 30th year. I've done it for 30 years. Let's use that as an angle.
Sure.
Push it.
Good.
Yeah. No, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Peggy. Trust me. The hardest thing about this magazine is getting the word out.
That's what we're going to do. We'll see.
Making the magazine.
We'll see if we can help you do that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Bless you both.
Have a great Sunday.
Take care.
Can you give us a little commercial? Are we on live on Facebook or not?
The money you saved by having Liberty Mutual
that's fine.
customize
Hi,
your home
folks.
insurance.
How you
so
doing
can
out
pay
there?
For what you need.
This is your bonus time on Facebook. What? No.
No, just either all on or all off, so we know.
No.
Or let us know.
No. I like the idea of the commercial in the background, and people get an idea of what's going on, and we can still talk over it, and that's fine.
Is line 1 still up? Or?
Yeah, Pat's done.
50 years of America's music. Everybody shows up. Let's go. Come on. The 50th CMA Awards on ABC with performances by Keith Urban, Miranda Lambert, Luke Bryan, plus an epic duet with Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood, a show-stopping tribute to Dolly Parton, and be there for the first 8 minutes when we make country music history. Are you guys ready? Brad Paisley and Carrie Underwood host the CMA Awards live tonight, 8/7 Central on ABC.
You want to install a solar energy system for your home, but you're afraid you'll be overwhelmed by choices and jargon. You need to talk to our friends at Albright Solar. Albright Solar offers a boutique, hands-on approach to your
And
situation.
for those of you listening, Albright Solar going to be on the show next week. Our friend Lisa Albrecht.
So this is we can do both. We can multitask here. We got commercials playing and get to tell people a little bit about the product.
Next week's show?
Because she will be on to talk about solar in Illinois, and that's a great thing. You should get yourself, what you should do is go to Albright Solar and check it out, especially if you've got sun on the top of your house. I do not. I can't do that. And she will explain once again on the show why I can't put solar on my home, which is one of the
and what options you could do.
One of the banes of my existence. But we're also going to have Ron Cowgill on the show soon because, as it turns out, he is going to be insulating my home. Not him, his company, DR Services. And when you hear DR, by the way, that's Ron Cowgill. And you should go to DR and hire them because they're the best. Ron Cowgill from Mighty House, Home Improvement Radio.
Mighty House.
The one that Andrew is the producer of. I saw the scroll after the Facebook thing yesterday. I went,
credits?
The credits. He's got credits rolling after. Alicia, you got to talk to Andrew. He's got credits rolling on Mighty House after the show.
Yes, all of our staff for that show, yes.
Buy one raffle ticket for
That's something we can also run at the 10 o'clock break, along with that screen of all of our social media.
A nonprofit working to advance solar energy development throughout the state of Illinois. The winner will be drawn at the ISEA member meeting on December 5th, 2019. Anyone in the continental U.S. is eligible to win, and you don't even need to be present at the drawing.
I was going to print it up, and
so
then
get your tickets, the rules,
That's
and
on
all
the
the
back,
other
too.
small print details
I totally forgot.
at illinoissolar.org today.
That's the first thing I printed, so I didn't forget.
Hi, it's Fred from Gabby Road.
All right, I forgot.
On today's show, we talk with a contestant from the 9,000th episode of The Price is Right. That's next on Gabby Road with Hannah, Fred, and Justin on WCGO.
Everybody, sing along. Here we go.
Crossing the highway late last night. He should have looked left and he should have looked right.
Thank you, Robbie.
He didn't see the station wagon.
Hey, at least you didn't call me
The
loud.
skunk got squashed and there you are. You got your dead skunk in the middle of the
Yeah, you do. And that's actually a funny song, but it leads us into our next segment because, as we know, the monarch butterfly migration is still happening across the country. Not in Chicago. Thank goodness, because
They freeze.
If they were here on Monday or Tuesday, that's it. You're done. Although I saw some late ones get out of here, and I was yelling at them and saying, go south.
Hey, I had the hummingbird in the middle of the snowstorm on Halloween.
On Halloween, you had a hummingbird. Yikes. Okay. Well, that brings us to our next guest, Dr. Robert Coulson, he's a professor of entomology at Texas A&M University. Dr. Coulson, good morning.
Good morning to you.
It's great to talk to you. You are in the Knowledge Engineering Laboratory at Texas A&M. What the heck is a Knowledge Engineering Laboratory?
Well, it was a laboratory that we established back in the mid-'80s to build computer systems for planning and problem solving and decision making in natural resource management. And that sort of morphed over into conducting research in landscape ecology or spatial ecology, and so we do both. We conduct research in landscape ecology and build computer systems.
Okay. I'm going to ask you, the phone is a little muffled, so speak as clearly as possible.
Is that better?
Maybe actually back off from it a little bit. I'm not sure whether you need to get closer or further from the microphone. We'll see what happens. And we've got Andrew in there. He's tweaking along, doing as much as he can too. So I got information from Texas A&M the other day about a program you guys are doing in Texas, and the monarch butterflies are still migrating south towards Mexico right now, and they will be, for another few weeks?
Yes, sir. It'll go to around the 1st of December is when they're out of Texas and almost into the overwintering sites in central Mexico. But it's going on full bloom right now in Texas, a little bit south of College Station, which is in central Texas. It's getting down more towards the border of Texas and Mexico.
So this is an opportunity for you to do some research about roadkill. And, I made fun of it with a dead skunk in the middle of the road. But when you and I talked the other day, and you said something, because I was talking to you and I said I hit a monarch earlier this year, and I just said, oh, I can't do that. I hate doing that. And you said, what about people who are driving through a swarm of monarchs that are migrating south? And that doesn't happen just in Texas. That happens across the country, and there's nothing you can do. And it's a traumatic experience, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct. And if you've ever experienced that, you'll remember it.
Yeah.
When we started doing the research on monarch roadkills, we received numerous testimonials of individuals that had experienced that phenomenon, and it was traumatic to all of them. And it was something that was indelible in their minds. They wouldn't never forget about it.
So this happens even more in Texas. And why is that, Dr. Coulson?
Well, the migration begins to funnel and narrow when the insect gets to Texas on its journey to central Mexico. And as the corridor begins to narrow, the populations increase in size, and then any mortality that occurs in those concentrated populations tends to be very large. And that occurs mostly towards in South Texas and along the coastal flyway, which goes along the Gulf Coast of Texas.
Yeah, so you've got probably, I would imagine, a western flyway, a central flyway. You mentioned the coastal flyway. So what happens, this is the eastern monarch we're talking about, and this is the monarch that is east of the Rocky Mountains. And they come down from, as far away as Nova Scotia in central Canada, and they're making a trip all the way down to Mexico, and they funnel into Texas, as you say. So some are coming, I would imagine if you got monarchs along the East Coast in New Jersey, New York, they're probably coming along the coastal flyway, aren't they?
That's correct. There are two flyways, the central flyway and the coastal flyway. Most of the population comes down the central flyway. And when it gets into Texas, we have two distinct flyways. We've got a coastal and the central flyway. And again, the central one is where most of the insects are coming through. And that is an area that in the past where we've concentrated on looking at our roadkill surveys. But we also found that coastal flyway, particularly along causeways where the populations are having to move across water bodies, we found that roadkill mortality was really significant in those areas as well. And we call those hot spots where you have concentrated populations of the insects that are killed, that are roadkill, and those occur in different places around Texas. Part of what we're trying to do is identify where those hot spots occur and how frequently they occur, and if there are things like topographic features or wind currents that result in the recurrence of those hotspot locations during different years.
So are the hotspot places generally the same year after year, or do you not know that yet?
Well, we don't know that, but it appears to be that is the case. Now, there may be some variation around specifically where they occur, but the geographic locations, sort of the micro locations, appear to be recurrent in different years. But that's part of the studies that we're doing.
And how long has your team been doing these studies?
Well, we had a project on monarch butterflies through the Comptroller General's Office of the state of Texas. That organization, or that agency, oversees the research funding for endangered species in Texas. And monarch butterflies has been petitioned for listing as an endangered or threatened species. And our project began back in 2016. Our current project deals with, or is supported by the Texas Department of Transportation, TxDOT. And this is the first year of that study, and we're out, our survey entomologists are out right now conducting surveys, and this is the first of 4 that we'll do during the next couple of years, 2 in the fall and 2 in the spring.
Aha. And I think folks should realize also, I mean, there's not much the monarchs can do at this point except go through Texas, because that's their flyway. But they make this 1,000-mile journey. They go to Mexico. They overwinter in Mexico. And folks, they're not reproducing at that point. They have to come back to Texas in the spring, and then they have a couple of generations in Texas. So this, as we've talked about on the show, this is one of the most remarkable instances in nature of selective, reproduction, where you have these butterflies that are capable, one generation that's capable of withstanding the journey down, overwintering, coming back, and then otherwise they have a much shorter lifespan, right, Dr. Coulson?
That's correct. You've absolutely correctly identified the truly remarkable feature of that migration phenomenon, that the insects that are down there that get to Mexico from the migration, from the fall migration, are the same ones. Those individuals are the same ones that return to Texas, and they'll reproduce 2 times in Texas before they move up into the Midwest and towards the east. And that is truly a remarkable phenomenon, unlike any other in nature. The monarch butterfly migration is unique.
It really is. All right, I'm going to ask you. You don't. We're still getting it's a little muffled, the conversation. Our engineer is nodding. Do you have a landline by any chance nearby?
No, I don't. I can put you on speaker if that'll help.
Let's give it a shot.
Yeah, and I think Ellie will call you back over the break too.
Let's try the speakerphone for a second. Can you?
Okay, hold on a minute.
Oh, that sounds like it's going to be better.
Okay, that
Oh
help?
my goodness!
Much better. He gets a ding.
I wish I'd have done that 5 minutes ago. Okay, that's good. Well, that means that I'm going to be able to keep you around for the next segment. Otherwise, I'm going to have to let you go. Well, this is good. And now you mentioned that the Texas Department of Transportation, you call it TxDOT. Is that what they call it?
That's correct. Yeah, that's right.
All right, and Texas A&M Transportation Institute are working with the Knowledge Engineering Laboratory at the Texas A&M College of Agriculture and Life Science, and that the entomology department is part of that. So I'll tell you what, when we come back, we will get a little more information about this and how this might protect monarchs in Texas. It's the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. We'll be right back.
What is and Dawn Redwoods are still available. So come out now. .com for more information. Follow them on Facebook for updates. Again, that's richesfoxwillowpines.com. Stay in touch with The Mike Nowak Show. Find us on Facebook and YouTube at The Mike Nowak Show. Use the Twitter handle at Mike Now. Send us a photo on Instagram at The Mike Nowak Show or write to us, mike@mikenovak.net. We're also at thegreendivas.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and on the Smart Talk Radio Network. Podcasts and blog posts are available every week at mikenovak.net. Sign up to get our newsletter on the homepage and support the sponsors who support us. Look for logos and specials at mikenovak.net.
Being a meteorologist, you see things daily that can be related or not related to climate change. And then you separate that from the climate science and the social policy. So it's almost like teaching three classes. The meteorology, which is short-term, the climate, which is long-term, and then the policy, which is government, whether or not it's federal, state, or local. I'm meteorologist Rick DeMaio. Stick around for some more insight into weather and climate on WCGO 1590, Chicago's Smart Talk.
It's hot in December, cold in July. When it rains, it pours out of a poisonous sky. In California, the body counts keep getting higher. It's evil out there, man, that state is always on fire. There's been a hard day on the planet.
Especially if you're a monarch butterfly. Well, not just monarchs, other insects as well. Welcome back to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. We're very pleased to have on speakerphone Dr. Robert Coulson, professor of entomology at Texas A&M University. Let's basically get into that. We have a couple of entomologists who come regularly on our show, Bob, if I might call you Bob. And we
Please do.
Okay, and we talk about insect populations and the big picture of insect decline. If you go to my website and you see the blog I wrote for today, I caught some. You probably saw the articles in the last year, Bob, about the insectageddon, the insect apocalypse. And I read those too, and I posted about them. And then I read other articles that said, that's really being overstated, and we really don't have all the data on that. So let's not get alarmist about this. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I'm like you. I'm not real sure what it all means. The observations that people have made that I'm familiar with have dealt with, well, when I drive between locations that I used to travel, I don't have as many insects stuck on my windows, on my windshield as I used to. I don't know. There's not a lot of empirical evidence to suggest that it's true, but I really can't comment on it. I really don't know.
Okay.
And I do know that the monarch butterfly, for example, there's no question that the populations of that insect have declined by about 80% at the overwintering sites over the last 20 plus years. So there's empirical evidence that is true, and that it could be happening to other insects is probably true as well. Monarch butterflies are iconic, and in that regard, they're studied in much more detail than most other insects are. Unless you're interested in pest insects that are eating your food or carrying diseases that make you sick, most insects don't get studied in great detail.
Right.
Fortunately, the monarch butterfly does.
Fortunately, but pity the hoverfly. Who's covering that? And
yeah.
Detailing that. And you mentioned something that is actually now has a name. It's called the windshield phenomenon. Of course, in Great Britain, they call it the windscreen phenomenon. And it is something that other people have noticed, and it's the same thing with the back porch light phenomenon, which is there aren't as many bugs around your back porch light as there used to be. That's anecdotal, and there's not, we don't have the data, and part of the reason is that we were not counting insects in the early part of the 20th century because there was no reason to, although we probably, as scientists, and researchers probably should have been doing that, but it never occurred to anybody except a small group of people in Germany who were doing some of that. But that doesn't give us data for the whole planet. Well,
that's certainly true.
Yeah. So anyway, I was just interested in your take on that. But getting back to the monarchs, Peggy had some interesting things she told me about during the break, and I wonder if you could comment on.
There was an article in the San Antonio News recently talking about how they're studying monarch wings and noticing, perhaps because of climate change, that the insects' wings are actually getting longer because their journeys are getting further to get to summer grounds and winter grounds.
Well, that could very well be true. I'm not familiar with the study on it. Insects, like other living organisms, adapt to the world that they live in. And the changes in resources and conditions result in new adaptations that allow the organism to persist through time. And that certainly could be one of the adaptations that's occurring. I'm not familiar with it, though, so I'm just speculating on it.
Go ahead. You want one more thing?
Actually, I was going to ask another question about your study, but...
Well, that's what I was going to ask, too. Okay, so let's get back to the study in Texas, which, again, you might have to do this for several years to really come to any detailed conclusions, I would think. But let's say you do identify hot spots in the state of Texas. And as we said before in the first part of the problem is that all the monarchs are gathering in mass in Texas so they can get to Mexico. So there are more swarms, and it's easier for them to get whacked by automobiles at certain points. So let's say you do identify those hot spots. How do you mitigate that? How do you get drivers not to take out so many butterflies?
Well, that's part of our study is to do a thorough review of the various types of mitigation strategies that have been developed in the past. Now, generally, those deal with mammals and with birds. That's where most of the emphasis has been placed, and the different types of mitigation practices range from simply putting a road sign up that says "slow down." You've all seen, pictures of deer, and that basically is showing where the deer move across roadways. That's actually been done for monarch butterflies.
Really?
Well, in Mexico, there's a road between Monterrey and Saltillo, which is notorious for high levels of roadkills, and they have a road sign there that with a picture of a monarch butterfly on it and the name in Spanish, and ask the drivers to reduce their speed limit to 40 kilometers per hour.
And does it work?
Now, whether or not that happens,
yeah.
Well, I don't know. In theory, that would be something you could do. You certainly couldn't do that on Highway 10 or U.S. Interstate Highway 10 in Texas. Nobody's going to slow down.
I was going to say that.
Right.
Good luck. Good luck with that in Texas or Illinois or out east. I was driving in September, and those people are nuts. So none of those people are going to slow down.
One of the
I think. Go ahead.
I was going to say you sent us a bunch of studies, and one of them had a mitigation from I think it was either Taiwan or Japan of nets to kind of raise the flight up over the traffic.
Yeah, that was one study that was done in Taiwan, and that actually was quite effective. What they did is they timed the placing of the nets when the monarch or when the insect was flying through. It wasn't monarchs, and I can't recall the species, but it actually substantially reduced the mortality that occurred there. Now, whether that's possible, our role in this thing is really advisory. What we're trying to do is to look at potential mitigation strategies. One might be planting a milkweed or flowering plants in certain locations to move the migration to respond to either habitat or to a fuel source for the migration.
Dr.
Again,
Coulson, that's real quick, like 15 seconds. But we've been planting milkweed along highways. Isn't that a problem?
Well, we don't know. That could be, and that's part of what our study is looking at. That at the how much is the milkweed along roadways utilized by monarchs. Now, that would be in the spring migration.
We're done here, Dr. Coulson. Thank you so much for being on the show. Go to MikeNowak.net. You'll get more information. Sorry about that, sir. It's just we have a hard break, and
no problem.
There's nothing we can do about it. But that was wonderful, and thank you so much for getting on the speakerphone. Oh, my.
roller coaster ride treating you? You know, you've worked too long and too hard, scrimping and saving for retirement to have it exposed to this market volatility. It's time to get off the roller coaster and get serious about how you're planning for retirement. For your free, no obligation, no more volatility information kit, call 844-345-3140. That's 844-345-3140.
Welcome to the second hour of the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. This hour is brought to you by Bartlett Tree Experts. Every tree needs a champion. Go to bartlett.com. Here they are again, Peggy Malecki and Mike Nowak.
All I need is good food to eat and make me healthy, wealthy, wide awake. Lettuce, tomatoes, root and bacon. What about those sweet potatoes? All I need is good food to eat. All I need is good food to eat.
Welcome back to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. Get off of that seat, Peggy. You're not allowed to sit down during this show. Come on.
I was busy sharing the video.
And like nobody sits
nobody sits during the show.
Except for Andrew there in the studio, because as we found out earlier,
I have an ultimate storage capacity of 800 quadrillion bits. My total linear computational speed has been rated at 60 trillion operations per second.
Okay. And I told him, I wrote a joke to him earlier this week. I'm really going to bust you here, Andrew.
That's all good. Mighty House does it all the time.
I know. I'm actually really kind to you compared to Mighty House.
Yes, you are.
I am. That. Absolutely. So I told a joke to Andrew this
oh yes.
And it kind of went it kind of went something like this.
I have an ultimate storage capacity
of
800.
No. That's not the one I wanted. Okay. I meant to do, I told a joke to Andrew and it went something like this.
You told a joke. I am not laughing. Perhaps the joke was not funny.
When was this? I don't remember this.
That was the one in email.
It was in the email when I said about Mike Jackson.
Oh, yes, that one. I just I go through emails so quickly. I just didn't register.
Something about asking.
I am not laughing. Perhaps the joke was not funny.
He talks about trout or something like that.
Yeah, it was right. It was about trout. All right. Okay. Welcome back to the show.
Commander Andrew.
So you are now Commander Data. That's who you are.
Exactly. Robotic.
Behind it. No, you're not robotic, but you are. But you are humorous. Okay.
Thank you.
And all I've got to say about myself is
what a jerk.
Okay, and I am. What? Yes.
And I was going to say something because you busted me for sitting down while I was posting the show to another Facebook page. So everybody watching us on Facebook, please start a watch party. Please share with your friends.
We are posting this on 46,000 Facebook pages right now, but we have 17 viewers. So we. I don't know how that works. Math doesn't add up here.
It has something to do with Mark Zuckerberg, no doubt.
Of course. Everything has to do with Mark Zuckerberg. Real quick, because this is like the coolest thing ever.
The dinosaur that went around the moon?
The dinosaur that went around the galaxy. All right. There was this, it was a horrible headline, but ScienceAlert.com had a story that says NASA scientist shows dinosaurs roamed Earth on the other side of the Milky Way. Okay, it might be because they only had so much space to get in there. It's kind of misleading, but the point is, when dinosaurs roamed the planet Earth and our solar system, our sun and our solar system was on the other side of the galaxy, and it rotates around our galaxy, around the center of our galaxy. Mm-hmm. So the same way that the planets rotate around the sun rotates around the center of the galaxy. At the time the dinosaurs were here, we were on the other side of the galaxy, which is pretty amazing. So it says that the sun orbits the galaxy center, completing its rotation every 215 million years or so. This animation shows that the last time our solar system was at its current point in the galaxy, the Triassic period was in full swing and dinosaurs were just beginning to emerge. And it just shows you how long the dinosaurs were here and how short a time we've been here. And I keep saying that if we find a dinosaur Rosetta Stone,
Uh-huh.
we're really going to be humbled. I'm telling you. They might have built up a whole civilization that we don't even know of. They got wiped out. All right, it's the way it goes. Oh boy, are we excited! In the next segment, we're going to be talking about leaving the leaves in your backyard with Dr. Elaine Evans from the University of Minnesota. So stick around. When it comes to tree care, it's all about the science. Well, there's love and history and when they don't throw in a promo.
What a baby, what a night.
Talented, funny, unique, the Frozen Robins are Chicago's #1 caroling group. Exquisite harmonies, madcap improvisation, holiday sketches and characters, even a 10-minute version of It's a Wonderful Life. They are definitely not your mother's carolers.
You'll go down in history.
Go to frozenrobins.com or contact me, Mike, at MikeNovak.net, because I'm not just a fan of the Frozen Robins, I are one.
Yeah!
Welcome back to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki, and this is in honor of our And she's grooving to the music, too. Oh, my goodness. In honor of our guest, Dr. Elaine Evans, if I say PhD at the end of it, that's redundant. The Department of Redundancy Department.
Again?
And again. Elaine is an extension educator and bee researcher in the Department of Entomology at the University of Minnesota. You're part of Minnesota Extension. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I can actually hear the bees in your room there, in your home. Oh, or is that the ocean? Maybe that's the ocean there. I don't know.
In Minnesota?
I guess not. Maybe a lake. Well, you're on the show today because I got yet another cool email this week, and it was from the government, actually, from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service about helping native pollinator with their Leave the Leaves campaign. Let's start there. What is the Leave the Leaves campaign, Elaine?
So there's a lot of people who are getting on board with helping pollinators, and there's all kinds of different things that we can do. And some of them are really simple. They're things we just have to not do. If we actually just leave leaves when they fall down, it makes for a more natural system, and it leaves important habitat there that was really crucial for a lot of pollinators for their overwintering. Because we mostly think about pollinators when we see them on flowers in the summertime, but they need to survive the winter too.
All right, and that is, I think, knowledge that too many people don't have. Frankly, they don't know how bees. Oh, we lost the ocean. I see. You're bringing it in and out, Andrew. Okay, thank you, Commander Data. So. Solitary bees behave differently from bees that, honeybees that are in a hive, right? Could you explain some of the behavior? I know all bees are a little different, but say some of the bumblebees. You're trying to protect the rusty-patched bumblebee, which is in danger. It's just kind of disappeared from our landscapes in the last 40 years, which is alarming. Let's start with that bee or similar bees.
So bumblebees are also social insects. So they do have colonies where there's a queen and workers all living together in a nest through the summer, but then they also have a solitary phase. So when they make their new queens at the end of their colony cycle, those are the only ones that survive the winter. So bumblebees, only these new queens that are produced are the only ones that survive the winter. And so we actually need to learn a lot more about what they do. But from what we know, they find places where they dig themselves down in the ground, just a couple inches down. And that's where that leaf litter can be an important layer to help protect and insulate them when they're down in there. And then it's in the spring, then it's just these queens that come out, and they need to find new nests, and the whole bumblebee colony for the next year is based on that. And we actually have I mentioned we don't know that much about them. There's actually a new project that we just launched with bumblebee researchers across North America that's called Queen Quest. Mm-hmm. And what we're trying to do is get people to help us figure out where bumblebee queens are overwintering. And what we're asking people to do is to go out and just dig around in the dirt in places where they might be and see if we can find them. And then share that data with the bumblebee science community.
So that is interesting in itself, that the queen survives. So she repopulates the colony by springtime, and so the worker bees you see have all been hatched in the spring. Is that what happens?
Right. So they build up the colony through the year. So the colony each year just starts from just that single queen that has to go out and find pollen and nectar, make a nest, and she lays kind of batches of eggs. And eventually the eggs are her workers, and they go out, and the colony will build up gradually over the summer.
Okay, see, that's what I didn't get. It's like it doesn't come out full blown in the spring. The colony increases as the summer. What's the advantage of the colony increasing as the summer goes on?
So they need to be able to get a lot of pollen in to be able to produce the next generation of reproductive. So these queens that they produce at the end of the colony cycle, it takes a lot of pollen to make those queens. And so they need a lot of workers to be able to go out and collect that pollen and bring it back. And so they only can do that once the colony has built up.
Ah, okay. All right.
Yeah. So there are a lot of solitary bees too that can benefit from leaving the leaves, and those are a lot different. So they don't have that colony that builds up over the summer. A lot of those solitary bees, they're only out for maybe 1 or 2 weeks as adults. We only see them, and the rest of the time they're just in their nests as young.
And Dr. Evans, we do have a question from one of our listeners on the solitary bees, wondering, is it better to have a bee house? She had bought a bee house, or would it be better in the leaves?
Yeah, so the bee houses are for bees that nest inside of stems or other cavities, which that makes up about 14% of the bees that we have in general. All the rest of these bees are mostly nesting in the ground, and so that those kind of bee houses are helping those cavity nesting bees, but to help the ground nesting bees, something like leaving the leaves is something you can do that'll help those other bees.
So a combination.
A combination. And you can also help those, instead of the bee houses, if you just leave some stems in your yard. So when you're cutting back your perennials, if you leave about 12 inches of stubble, that will provide that same kind of habitat in a more natural way for the bees.
But that's anathema to a lot of people. Peggy was just telling me during the break tell me what's going on in your neighborhood.
A lot of the fall cleanups where every last leaf is gone, every hosta, every annual is just down to the ground.
And that part of that is those people have too much money because they're out there, they've got the time to go out there, and some of them hire crews to do this. I will tell you, honestly, in my block, in the heart of the city, nobody pays for that stuff and nobody does it. And in a weird way, in the heart of urban America, I think there are more leaves on the ground than sometimes there are in the suburbs.
Yeah.
You're nodding there, Elaine.
Yeah. There's a lot of evidence that, the more we kind of leave stuff alone, the better it can be for wildlife. And, that's a good example of that.
Yeah.
And,
I have you got to go to my website if you get a chance, Elaine, to see the photo I took in this very city, Evanston, where we're broadcasting from last year, and it's a parkway, and on one side the leaves are blown completely clear, and on the other side it's completely covered in leaves, and this is a stark example of what happens in our country.
Yeah,
and it's like having no weeds in your lawn. The same thing. People are conditioned. Got to get rid of everything.
And some of that is working on changing our aesthetics and how we think about our landscapes. And as we realize that our landscapes are an ecosystem, they're there providing things besides just the aesthetics for us. And some of it is getting people to change their view of the aesthetics to appreciate what's there. So we do encourage people when they start doing these kinds of things to their yard to put up. There's lots of different signs you can get that say, pollinator habitat. And then people will not just think that you're being lazy. They'll realize that you're doing it on purpose.
Well, but that's a very important point. It's who's the doctor at the University of Michigan who came up with this idea that Nassauer, the idea that you have to give signals in your yard, that this is not just neglected, that it's attended to. Signs are one, pathways are another, borders are a third, a tiny bit of lawn is another way. And all these signals tell people that, no, I'm actually paying attention to this and I'm doing it on purpose.
Yeah, that's a great point. And with leaving the leaves, that's something that you don't have to leave all the leaves everywhere. You know,
Right.
you can be strategic and just leave them on your garden beds, or have some corners of your yard where you're doing that. If you have areas of the lawn that you want to rake off and just get those leaves.
Right. I mean, what I do in my backyard, and by the way, for those of you who love your lawns, I get it. I don't always agree with it, but I get it. At this time of the year, now that the lawns are going to stop growing because we're about to freeze. You guys probably already are up in Minneapolis right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's coming our way in Chicago, folks. Mow your lawn short at this time of year. Then you're less likely to get the lawn diseases over the winter, snow molds and that sort of thing. But if you're concerned that the leaves are going to kill your lawn, and there's some truth to that, not as much as you might think, you can mulch them on your lawn and they'll break down, and that's great. Or just rake them into the garden beds, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so here's my plan for today. I'm going home before the cold weather hits, because we're going to, what'd you say, how much
3 inches of snow overnight.
Our meteorologist will confirm that or not. I'm going to go home and rake those leaves from my neighbor's parkway, put them on my garden in front and in back, and then I'm counting on the snow to cover that. And that's like a double layer of insulation, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that snow layer is really important, and that's one thing that we worry about with pollinators, with climate change, and with there being less snow cover. We worry about that not providing that insulating for all those bees that are, and other pollinators that are overwintering under that snow layer.
What's preferable, mulched leaves or whole leaves?
You know, I don't think we know if there's really a big difference. I think it's mostly just having that that mass of some vegetation there.
Okay. Well, and that's what so much of science is about. As we investigate these things, we find out more and more. That I've read, and you've probably read this as well, Elaine, that be careful about mulching, using the mulching mower on everything because you will chop up some insects. You will destroy some eggs, right?
Yeah. So there are, especially looking at things like caterpillars, looking at moths and butterflies, a lot of them will be right in the leaves there for overwintering. So I tend to be bee-centric. The bees are usually underground, so mulching's not that bad for them, but that's a really good point for other pollinators and other beneficial insects. You don't want to chop everything up.
Yeah, or leave a brush pile too.
Yeah, brush pile as well is important, isn't it, Dr. Evans?
Yeah, brush piles are great. I've been in my house here for 20 years and put all kinds of houses out for bees. It wasn't until I started a couple of big brush piles that I finally had bumblebees nesting in my yard.
Really? Okay.
Wow.
Well, I've got some brush piles in mine, and I just kind of leave them and let them break down, because then that provides nutrients as well to your soil.
Yeah, and I have I'm in a small city lot right in St. Paul here, and what I've done is started some hugel culture, if you're familiar with that from permaculture.
Sure.
So I am able to have raise some vegetables on top of my wood pile.
All right, we got like a minute here. I just want to give a shout out because you're part of the Minnesota Bee Atlas and the Minnesota Bumblebee Survey. And by the way, bumblebees are my favorite bees of all time. They're the harbingers of spring. You see them going do-de-do-de-do out in the backyard.
Like how?
Do-de-do-de-do. How are we doing with the rusty patch? You got like 30 seconds to tell me.
Yeah, so, well, actually, right around Chicago and then around the Twin Cities here and also around Madison, Wisconsin, those are the places where we're still consistently seeing them, but we're not seeing nearly as many as we used to. So, the good news is that we, in our city yards here, we have a chance to really make important habitat that's going to be really vital for the recovery of this species. So we've got a long ways to go, but we have hope, and there's a lot of us that can
Dr. Elaine Evans, PhD. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You wouldn't use an 18-week.
All right, we are off. Thank you so much, Elaine. That was wonderful. I hope we covered pretty much everything we needed to cover here.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, fantastic. Let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, would love to talk more in Rusty Patch too.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. And like I said, Chicago, there's a lot that can be done there because they are found around there.
Well, you might remember that Chicago wilderness had, it was one of its concerned species. Several years ago, they did a program where they were looking at various species. And it wasn't just insects. It was reptiles.
Mollusks and fish.
Yeah, and everything. And Rusty Patch Bumblebee was one of the stars on that. So, well, keep us posted. If anything interesting comes up, you're always welcome to give us a holler.
All right, great. Thanks.
And thanks to your friend at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife for getting you. Jill.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
She was wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Have a great Sunday.
Yep, you too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Are we on Facebook or not?
Insurance company presents.
Are we on Facebook volume or not?
Okay. Hi, Facebook. All right. I cannot get. My Facebook won't load at all. Just Mark Zuckerberg, you are so annoying, dude. I just cannot get it to load here at all. Oops, I need music though. I better find that.
And we've got Kim.
ISEA member meeting on December 5th, 2019. Anyone in the continental U.S. is eligible to
No
win,
promo.
and you don't
Cool.
even need to be present at the drawing to claim your prize. So get your tickets, the rules, and all the other small print details at illinoissolar.org today.
Somebody walking through the mud?
You can't figure this out, can you? All of these instruments are made from vegetables.
Ah.
It's just another thing I found on the inner tubes while I was cruising one day, and I said, you know what? I gotta,
Gotta save that for the
and,
show.
And we have to do on the show. We have to do the sounds of plants
Oh
growing.
yeah.
We
yeah.
ha- we
and
ha-
the wood sounds one too.
Right, sounds of plants growing. Welcome back to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. We're very honored this morning to have Commissioner Kimberly du Buclet, if I've got that exactly right, on the phone with us. Commissioner, good morning.
Good morning, and yes, you got it exactly right. So thank you for that, and thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Well, we want to thank you, first of all, because Commissioner du Buclet, who in 2018 got elected to a 2-year term to the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago, MWRD. Some folks know it as that because that's a lot shorter. When your team found out that we were doing the awards again, and it's our 3rd year of doing the awards, we gave
Chicago
out...
Excellence in Gardening Awards.
I'm sorry, I didn't say that. Chicago Excellence in Gardening Awards, thank you, or SIGA. And your team found out and said, hey, how can we help? And we said, what you got? and your team said, and your team said, how about 5 rain barrels that the MWRD gives out, and we'll give them to people who register for the competition. They didn't even have to win the competition. They didn't have to get an award. All they had to do was sign up. And then we drew the names randomly, and we gave out 5 of your rain barrels this year, and we're so grateful to you for that.
Well, we are happy to do that, and that's awesome. Those are awesome awards, and we were happy that we could help.
And then...
So I don't know if you... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and then you came to the award ceremony, and you gave a little talk, and we appreciate that, too.
Yes, of course I did. So parks and gardens are very close to my heart, partly because I grew up gardening with my grandmother. Then also I worked at the Chicago Park District, where I worked with park advisory councils, and oftentimes they would do community gardens.
Yeah. So you have a history of that, and you know how important it is, and we love recognizing gardeners in any way we possibly can, and we appreciate that. So that takes us to the MWRD, and we wanted briefly to talk about a couple of things you're doing. So let's start with the road show. Obviously, you're concerned with water quality in the Chicago area, and you help clean our water. As you mentioned on your own website, there's a lot of people not really sure what the MWRD does.
Take a couple minutes and just explain what we do?
Yeah, go ahead.
How about a minute?
Sure, that's better.
So very briefly, what we do is we take everything that goes down the toilet, down the drain, into our sewer systems, and all the wastewater that people don't think about, and we sanitize it and cleanse it to make sure it doesn't make its way back into our freshwater supply, which is Lake Michigan. We also build huge tunnels to help mitigate flooding. So we're a flooding agency, and we take care of the environment.
Wow, that's good. You've got the elevator speech down cold. Yeah. And I know I've seen some of that in action because I was there when you guys cut the ribbon. It was in 2017, actually, for the McCook Reservoir, which sucks up billions of gallons of water and is
That was
actually
right around this time of year, November.
Yeah, it was in December, actually, I believe. And that actually prevented some flooding in the Chicago area last year, didn't it?
Yes, it did. And just another fun fact, we have 7 water reclamation plants that provide hundreds of tours every year around the county of Cook. And Cook County, which is our service area, is the 2nd largest county in America. The 1st largest county is Los Angeles County, and we're number 2, servicing over 5 million residents. So our wastewater treatment plants and everything we do covers, I'd say, 99% of Cook County, which is the 2nd largest county in the United States.
And as you say, folks might not know about it, but we know about it on this show, and we try to make sure that people understand the important work that the MWRD does. So we keep hammering that on this show because water quality is everything. We need clean water. But there are other things that you do. So let's talk a little bit about the road show, because next weekend you're going to be actually not too far from where I live in Chicago at Von Steuben Metropolitan High School, 5039 North Kimball Avenue in Chicago from 9 to noon. What are you going to have going?
Correct. That's absolutely correct. So I'd like to invite you and your listeners to participate in our upcoming road show. And as you said, it's going to be at Von Steuben High School. And it's a chance where we take everything we do at our different plants and we bring it on the road. So you'll have an opportunity to meet our commissioners. You'll have an opportunity to meet directors and employees from the various disciplines that work at the agency. If someone is looking for a job, we'll have an HR booth set up so you can learn about career opportunities. And it's just a way for us to show off what we do in local spots around the county. So if you have a child that's interested in science or if you future scientists, they'll have a chance to meet with dedicated professionals who can show them the fascinating and the magical world of water. There's so much to learn.
The magical world of water, but you have to say the magical world of wastewater. But it's
yes,
or clean water,
or well, waste. It's magic because you turn wastewater into clean water. So there's the magic.
And I see that folks can also sign up to win a rain barrel if they go.
They can also set up to win a rain barrel. That's correct. And we have different booths set up that talk about all the different service areas and all the different things that we do at the Water Reclamation District.
Right. And are you going to be at that particular roadshow?
I will absolutely be there, yes. And I invite you all to come. I look forward to meeting you and your listeners if you come out next weekend. It's a wonderful opportunity to see what we have to do instead of going out to a plant or scheduling a tour. It's a really interesting way to introduce young children and young budding scientists into the world of wastewater and the STEM programs that we offer. So, yes, I will be there. I look forward to meeting and greeting as many people as I can and really talking about all the great work that we do.
Well, it sounds as though there's been a change in strategy at the MWRD, that in the past, as you mentioned, folks maybe they knew about the organization and the work that you did, but now it sounds like the MWRD is consciously trying to get out there in the public and say, hey, you need to really understand how this happens and how you can help us. Is that correct?
I would agree with that. That's absolutely correct. I think that beyond the Water Reclamation District, climate change and environmental issues need to come to the forefront of all of our lives. And oftentimes, especially with this new administration, the environmental issues and the climate issues are not being taken seriously. So myself and my other commissioners are very interested in making sure that environmental issues, climate issues are spoken about, and that people understand how what we do and how what everyday citizens do can affect our environment and affect climate change.
So when you go out and talk to somebody, you talk to a group, what's the number one thing you tell them that they can do to help mitigate climate change?
So the number one thing that we can all do, which is very easy, is just reduce your water usage. So particularly when there's a storm, if there's a storm in your area, try not to do a load of clothes, try not to run your dishwasher, try not to take a very long shower, because when you do that, it overwhelms our sewer system and makes it more difficult for us to keep the water out of the sewers and out of folks' basements. Mm-hmm. That's the number one easy thing to do. Another easy thing we can do is to use less single-use plastic products. So less use of straws, less use of plastic bags. Just use more reusable, recyclable items that can help with climate change.
Because that gets into our waterway. Yeah, it gets into the water.
That gets into our water supply,
yeah.
Exactly. And then the third thing, which I think is very easy, is just don't flush your prescription medicine down the toilet.
Oh, yes, that's a good one. And that's what MWRD has been doing for some time. We've had Deborah Shore on the show to talk about that. And I think that's one of the greatest initiatives of the MWRD, is getting people to dispose of their pharmaceuticals properly. And you can do that at police stations around Chicago, right?
Yes. We actually have take-back events. You can also dispose of them at different Walgreens stores around the county. We have boxes at our locations. Because the medicines that are being taken back are regulated, there has to be a sheriff on site to help monitor the take-back of the prescription medicines, but there are ways to do it.
And
we try and make it as easy as possible.
And you can do it this Saturday at Von Steuben. Take your medications, electronics, paper for shredding. Commissioner Kim du Buclet, thank you so much for being on the show. We'll see you soon, okay?
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Attention, if you've had hernia surgery.
All right,
Well,
great.
thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. That was perfect. That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
You bet. Have a great Sunday.
You too. Bye-bye.
Oh, is that me?
That's you.
All right. Well, then I guess I play this music.
I'm gonna tell you a story.
Tell me a big fat story.
I'm gonna tell you about my town.
All right, welcome back. There's a big fat story. I was going to play that before we had Commissioner du Buclet on, but it's dirty water, of course.
Yeah.
And, of course, Mark Zuckerberg will bleep us out. Actually, YouTube last week when we played Frank Zappa, they wouldn't let us.
They zapped us?
They zapped us.
Bum.
Thank you. You
dear.
know what I do about that.
You told a joke. I am not laughing. Perhaps the joke was not funny.
Perhaps it was not, but it
This
wasn't.
is not normal.
That's right, and it wasn't funny when they zapped us. I just thought, okay, Frank Zappa's, and it's obviously his estate that is saying we have really tight control over this, and you're not going to get it.
That's like when I got the notice for something from May last week that Facebook was muting. Like, that was from May. What are you guys just getting to listening to it now?
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're kind of backed up. All right. So
They're having issues.
yeah. All right. Welcome back to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. We have our meteorologist on the line, and Rick, I know people are logging in right now because they're just terrified about what's going to happen.
No, say it isn't so, please.
Oh my goodness! I am trying to just get ready.
The Tribune just sent during the show 3 inches of snow overnight.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, almost all of the numerical models kind of ramping up now. The amount of moisture that's kind of getting caught up into the system. And what's amazing about it is it's actually a little bit warmer on the front side, so we're probably going to get less lake effect snow. But obviously, when you have a little bit more warmth, you could have a little bit more moisture, and it looks like it may actually last a little bit longer as well. It's kind of interesting. The overall core of the coldest air now looks like it's going to slide just a little bit further north and east. So while we're still going to get cold Monday afternoon and into Tuesday, it actually kind of slides off the east pretty quickly. So we're going to rebound from this cold weather a little bit faster than what we initially thought. So when you look at the macro scale, we're going to be cold, we're going to get snow. And then when you look at the meso scale, you begin to say, okay, when does it start? When does it end? How much we're going to get? And then when you look at the micro scale, you try to figure out whether or not any part of the flow off of a very warm Lake Michigan is going to enhance the snowfall. So when you look at snow events and cold events, you have to be able to break it down into those three components, because not only does that help you from a standpoint of focusing amounts, but also time as well. So whenever you have things like this kind of coming together all at once, it never really helps anybody 3 or 4 days out to go nuts with it. Just kind of walk your way into it and then kind of walk your way out. But it does look like we'll probably, without a doubt, get several inches of snow, as Peggy alluded to, almost 3 inches. And then probably record cold during the day on Tuesday. But the record's going to stay for Monday.
Oh, so we're not going to break the record? You say we might on Tuesday, though?
Yeah, and the reason why we won't break it on Monday is because Monday technically starts at 12:01 tonight. So we'll easily still be like 33 degrees for a temperature at midnight. But by tomorrow afternoon, between like, say, 3 and about 6 o'clock, you're going to forget about that 33 degrees at 12:01. And it's going to be 25. You're going to say, screw the record. It's cold out there.
I know.
And then is it going to warm up, or do we actually have to go find our snow shovels this time?
Well, you'll find the snow shovel. It's probably not far from where you left it from last week, right?
Right.
No, I didn't use one last week.
I did because I was terrified that trick-or-treaters were going to do a header off of my porch, and so I shoveled.
Oh God!
And I iced. I mean, because you know what happens? The kids come up, they run up really fast. That's not the bad part. When they run down fast, I was just afraid a lawsuit was going to happen.
And your front stairs are really slick.
Yeah, which is
with rain.
Because
they're
wood,
yeah.
and they do get slippery. I have to talk to Ron Cowgill about that. But so I shoveled. But are we going to have shovelable snow? I guess that's the
oh yeah, without a doubt. So yesterday it looked like we were probably in for about maybe a 1/4 inch of moisture, with a lot of that probably melting on contact, and then getting about 4 to 6 hours of some lake effect snow. Now it looks like we're probably up to about a half to maybe 6/10 of an inch of moisture. Some of that's probably going to melt on contact, and then we'll still get the same amount of lake effect snow, but it doesn't appear to be as significant of it. So I think a couple of days ago I sent my snow guys, and you guys as well, maybe 1.5 to 2.5 inches. Now it looks like a 2.5 to probably 3.5, with maybe 4 right along the lakefront. That'll begin about midnight tonight, and it's going to be a pretty lousy and challenging commute on Monday. The only good thing is that it's obviously a Veterans Day, so a holiday for some, not many. It's one of those kind of quiet holidays.
Right.
And then the snow is over by Monday morning or Monday afternoon. And then Tuesday, mid-teens for a low, and probably only low 20s for a high. The coldest high ever was 28. So we'll definitely break down on Tuesday. After that, it warms up into the low to mid-30s. So it will moderate by the middle to end of the week. And that might be it for the real extreme cold. It definitely looks like the pattern kind of eases a little bit.
So because Peggy was saying, we had a question earlier about somebody saying, I need to get my lawn mowed short, because that's what you do at the end of the season. No, seriously, you mow it short.
No, I know.
The very last mow of the season, and I was just terrified we were going to be locked into winter after, Tuesday, but now you're saying that might mitigate. So you could probably do it next week after things warm up if it dries out a little bit, right?
Yeah, I think we can easily be, back up close to 40 degrees by the end of the week. And it's really weird, guys, because this is now, I think, the third snow that we've had, and there's still leaves on the trees. I mean, I know there's a lot of trees that lost their leaves, but there's some trees that are actually, still kind of green.
Yep.
It's really weird to see that. Great picture-taking opportunities last week and probably again this week, but it's been kind of a kick in the pants. People say I didn't feel like we had a fall, and I'm saying I didn't even think we had a November. we jumped right into December. I mean, this is December weather. In fact, last week we had a couple of days it was like January, and it'll feel again like January on Tuesday, and half of one day and half of Tuesday. So bottom line, people keep saying, why is there such cold air around when you have global warming or climate change? Well, first off, the Pacific Ocean, that warm blob is phenomenally warm. It's literally 3 to 4 degrees above normal. It covers an area probably half the size of the United States. and we had record low Arctic sea ice in October into the middle of the month. And that, I think, on the northern part of Alaska really helped whatever jet stream that was moving in that direction move even further north. A couple of strong typhoons came out of the Pacific Ocean, pushed into that area, and literally took all the cold over Canada and dumped it south. So we're seeing more and more of these really weird mid-October, early November cold outbreaks. And oftentimes they kind of lighten up a little bit, and you go just into a typical, cold pattern by the time you get into early December. So I still don't think this is a precursor of things that come for the entire winter.
Aha. But there it is tied a little bit to climate change is what you're saying.
Yeah, without a doubt. You cannot say that it's not part of climate change. I mean, the climate is definitely changing, and with that becomes much more higher variability. And again, when I'm done with you guys, I'm going to be spending another hour putting together reports for my snow guys, and it's the fifth one I've already sent out, and I haven't even gotten the contract yet for what they're going to pay me for the season. Because usually that doesn't happen until like the middle of November, so they've already had 5 events, and I think it's changing a lot of people's business models.
We talked about that. Remember, we had the guy from Niles on, and we talked about when the crews are changing their schedules, climate change is real, and that's part of the deal. And I think that's
and think about this, guys. Think about all the municipalities that are still putting up signs saying, when are we going to clean the streets with all the leaves? But yet they're putting the shovels on their plows, and now they have to plow snow and leaves, which is not a very pleasant thing to do.
Especially when the leaves all ice up.
Right, exactly, Peg. So even if you're a firm denier of this stuff, you can't argue to the fact that the science is right outside the window there.
All right. Well, you gave us the forecast for the week. It's cold, snow, warms up a little bit. That's fine with me as long as it gets back to the 40s next week. Rick DeMaio, thank you so much. We will talk to you again next week.
And look for my email, guys.
And we'll look for what?
Look for my email with my update.
Oh, great. Yeah, I'll be reading it. Thanks, dude. Talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye.
I want to thank everybody on the show today. Pat Stone, Dr. Robert Coulson, Dr. Elaine Evans, Commissioner Kim du Buclet, Rick DeMaio. Thanks, Ellie. Thanks, Andrew. Hey, all you vets, thanks for your service. Gabby Road is next. Until next time, go green or
go home.
Yes, it's over. How'd you like it?
I don't know. I slept through the whole thing.
Well, you didn't miss much.